Good morning, keepers of the cash. Gary B, the casual comic guy here. I am joined today with my special guest, who pointed the right way, Thorsten from Varangian Vigilante YouTube channel.
Hey,
Thorsten, welcome, buddy. Thank you for coming on the show.
thank you. Finally, a live chat today where I can actually talk and YouTube is not killing my stream.
Right? Ruby G, how's it going, buddy? Shop for Comics. Thank you for stopping in. We'll give everyone a few moments to pop in here. We're having a great day. Well, Thorsten's having a little bit of a rough day. So, Thorsten, you just had a live stream that was banned unbeknownst to you at first.
Which is fun because I did a lot of live streams which they could totally have banned. And
Right?
but today I made a mistake and put a Linsner cover as a thumbnail for.
And a really tame one. Show us that cover.
Yeah, it's according to YouTube, this is nudity. So if anybody gets kicked out now, complains to Linsner.
Right. So if this show goes south, guys, it's all Thorsten's fault.
Yeah.
Just you heard it here first.
Yeah, I really have to check. Pornhub is doing so many great things for humanity. They should really just also enable people to do like streams where I could like have live streams there to talk about comics and go more into detail of certain comics.
Well, hey, you know how companies are, man. If they find out there's money to be made in it, they'll make it happen.
Yeah, because then you can actually show a lot of the Savage Sword of Conan stuff.
Right?
That goes over, yeah.
Now, before we start talking about my thing, do you have the color specials, the Marvel Super specials that had the Savage Swords in color? Hey, Sean.
Yeah, do you mean the sagas or?
Yeah, I'll show you. I got them both right here because I thought of you when I had bought them, but I did reviews on both, but I didn't know if you had the color specials as well, but.
Oh, I have the one with Red Sonja. That one I have.
Yeah, and just this one, this one has a great wraparound cover by Earl Norem too, who passed in 2015, and he just passed his birthday.
Yeah, sadly, a lot of fantastic artists passed away in the last years.
Right, Thorne, Norem. Well, Norem not in the last year, but he was a couple, but still within the last 10 years. But what we're here today, and I want to thank Thorsten for joining me, is I'm going to talk a little bit about the journey to completing the Conan the Barbarian run. And as of 2019, I had no comics. I started collecting again in 2019. I've completed maybe 30 different series since then, like Dazzler, Spider-Woman, ROM, Micronauts, both series, just a bunch I've completed completely, like a bunch of different runs of Spider-Woman I completed, including the original. Conan was on the radar, but it was quite a task. You're talking 275 regular series issues. You're talking 5 giant size and 12 annuals. So it's a pretty big list. Now, it's not like you're collecting Batman or Spider-Man. It's not that kind of a Herculean task.
Luckily,
it's still an uphill battle. And I had gotten out of comics a few times. Conan the Barbarian is a character that has been with me since I was a child. Now, even though I wasn't collecting comics, good morning, Troy. Even though I wasn't collecting comics, I was still reading the Robert E. Howard stories every single year. They've always been yearly reads to me. I love them. And the thing is, right, and Robert E. Howard's such a prolific writer, and Thorsten can speak to this, you could still find new stories from him you haven't read every year. He just put so much work out, and that was all before he was 30.
Yes, since sadly he killed himself after passing of his mother when he was just 30, and he achieved more in 30 years on this planet than others do in 100. And there are so many stories that have never been released. Since, of course, after he passed, he was not a famous writer. He was a pulp writer, and a lot of I absolutely love pulp. I love Clark Ashton Smith. I love H.P. Lovecraft. and Robert E. Howard, obviously. And it's so phenomenal the output they had for shitty pay for
Right.
weird tales. What the
Pennies per story, basically.
Yeah, and when you see sometimes what they, like, I'm also like writing reviews and stuff, and it's not easy to like write something just on command.
Right.
And a lot of the pulp writers did just that.
Right. And
And
and they did it greatly. Great flow. Jason, how's it going? Um, and also too, which Thorsten can also speak to, is everyone knows Robert E. Howard for Conan. That was just one of what dozens and dozens of creations. I mean, this
so
guy
many.
had Cull, Solomon Kane, Red Son, and that's just the ones that people have heard of. They haven't heard of Bran McMorn, and they haven't heard Black Bomea. They haven't heard all the different horror titles he wrote, all the different. Uh, what was the boxer? He had a boxer title that he used to write.
I
He
forgot the name,
wrote, yeah, McCormack or something.
but the
Valley of the
Holocaust, like
Worm,
the Metal of Bones. It's like a lot of fantastic werewolf stories.
right? And he didn't limit himself to one time period. This was a guy who was a bit of a historian himself, and he wrote all across the field.
I mean, it's crazy because he also wrote Western, and nowadays we always seem like Western is also like historical. But basically, when he was alive, people that were in the Wild West were still alive.
Right.
It's crazy.
But he wrote a lot. So anyway, like I was saying, I as of 2019, I didn't really have any comics because I had been in and out of it for a while. My wife and I had bought a house like years before, so we were in it was Conan coming back to Marvel that got me back into comics. I shouldn't say I didn't have any comics. I had quite a few runs of the Dark Horse comics, but I had a bad experience with a comic shop and I stopped collecting again.
Mm.
And I just went there to get the Dark Horse stuff, the Solomon Kanes, the King Culls, and the Conans.
Yeah, that's when I read comics that in trade and I didn't start reading floppies because, of course, in Europe it's way easier to get a trade on Amazon than getting the single issue.
Right. But then, but so 2019, the new title's coming out, and I find Rhino's Comics, and so I've been stopping in like maybe once every couple months to take my kid in there, get him something, a toy and a book, because I wanted to get him reading, and my kid is a fantastic reader, but the new title was coming out, and then they asked the question, "Are you going to start collecting the old series?" And it always been my dream to have a complete run of Conan the Barbarian. It's comics, and Roy Thomas was my childhood. I grew up reading Roy Thomas. Unruly, how you doing? So it all started with someone that worked at the comic shop asking me if I was going to Jambo Comics. How you doing? If I was going to start recollecting the old Conan run. I was like, wow, that's a lot of issues. But I was gifted a book by two different guys there. And the book I was gifted was Conan the Barbarian, issue 21. And I'm still messing this up. All right. So, of course, a great book.
Very what's the Academy Award for comics?
Right. So they both gave, so two guys that worked there each gave me that issue. Each of them had an extra of that. Now I have two of it, love it. And I'm like, well, I got one issue. And this is just about when I learned about CGC. I never had a graded book. And I wanted to send in a book to get graded. And the comic owner was like, wait till we get a good Conan book in that you connect with. Send that in, make that your first book. So my actual first graded Conan book was one of my favorite Conan stories, and this art is great, and it has the border cover, which I always loved on the old Marvel comics, and the art breaking the border. And I'm sure you can already guess, Thorsten, but Conan the Barbarian, number 16. Just a fantastic book.
I absolutely love this cover.
This adaptation of this in this book hasn't been outdone yet, in my opinion. Just
I
White
really love
Diamonds.
the Robin Recht one. You're not so big a fan of the Robin Recht one, but absolutely loved it. But this is a story that has never been adapted in a bad way. I love the original Marvel adaptation. I love the Dark Horse adaptation, and I also love the French one.
And I can't wait till hopefully one day they'll actually adapt a real Conan story to the smaller big screen, because they keep making up their own bastardized versions of Conan stories when there's all these great stories they just need to adapt. Bixby, how you doing, sir? Jen, thank you for coming.
Jen, I don't trust Netflix with the property.
I got good hopes for it, so I'm gonna stay hopeful till they prove me otherwise.
Netflix effed me up the R like so bad in the last time, so I don't trust them. Like I would say, like they did The Witcher really bad.
See, I really enjoyed The Witcher.
Yeah, it's
but I wasn't so lost like a lot of people were.
The original story, it feels so far from the Slavic feel of the books and also the video games. It doesn't feel like being set in that area.
And that might be why I enjoyed it, because I never read the original books.
Oh, those are fantastic. Those are basically, very simple. It's like sword and sorcery, but in the Renaissance era, Renaissance era.
Okay, we're getting some good chat in there. So we had issue 16 was my first slab Conan. Issue 21 was the first book that got me back into it. And then it started rolling from there, because my LCS guy has just criminally insane amount of backstock.
Yes,
right. So the first thing I did, because it was easier to do, is I went and collected. He had all the King Conans, so I collected that whole series first. 55 issues and done. Really easy to collect. Criminally undervalued.
Hey, Jason.
So, and as you know, those are undervalued.
Yeah, they could totally do that. Especially, I think a lot of the Conan stories would be better told in like 45 minutes than a whole movie. They are pulps, and usually if you make like a whole movie out of a pulp, it feels like drawn out. So I feel like the original Robert E. House stories would be very well adapted in a
like Rogues in the House would be a great 45-minute story.
Yeah, totally.
Because that's a fast-paced story as it is, man. You could go through that story; it would be incredible in a 45-minute.
I mean, the movies took like some elements of comics and the original stories, like the fight against Fark in Rogues in the House was adapted basically in Conan the Destroyer, just in a very different
way.
This fight, but it also felt more like that they adapted the awesome panels by Barry Windsor Smith in the fight in Conan Destroyer in the tower.
Yeah, that was definitely a throw-in and homage to that story. But they were trying to put a lot in. And it would be curious to see how that movie ended up if they just kept with the original script. Yeah. Because when you read, I don't know if you read the Robert Jordan adaptation of it, but that was a pretty good read. A lot more serious. All right, let's see. Jambo, how am I going to justify my studio salary if I don't make changes? Yeah. And that's the thing, too. So they adapt all these things, right? And they adapt them from the source material. Now, the only one of the only authors they're not doing that with is Robert E. Howard. They always want to make something new when there's so many stories that you could just cut and paste, and it's great as it is. So I had started, so my collection was started. I had issue 21. I had 16 slabbed. And then I collected the morning, sir. I was on his show Saturday. It was a lot of fun. So, guys, if you could check that out, show this guy some love. He's fantastic. And so I was off and rolling. I had all 55 King Conan issues. I had a handful of Conan the Barbarians, and then he got a collection in, right? And then I'm like, okay, well, my guy being awesome, I bought over 100 Conan issues at 50 cents a piece. And these are books that are worth $5 to $8 a piece.
Yeah, I'm very lucky to get a Conan book under €4 here. Like, and I'm talking about like filler issues, like middle of the run.
But yeah, so it was fantastic. I wasn't going to pass it up. Next thing you know, I'm about 160 issues in when I was at 0 issues like a month ago, right? And I'm like, oh, this is something I could put together. I could put most of the run together. I never thought I'd get it all. And then I got a really good bonus check from work for some work I did. And my wife is like, well, you always wanted Conan 1. Why don't you just buy it? And I always say that the door was still swinging after she said it. And I was already driving down to the comic shop, you know? And I went down there with my bonus check. I told them what I had to spend in a week. I went mid-grade because, I can't afford a couple $1,000s for a book. But I got a nice 6.0, Conan the Barbarian #1. And then after I got this...
I couldn't care less about grades, especially.
And this presents beautifully. It has one little tick on the cover, which put it at a 6.0. I'm like, okay.
Also, like that's like a character trait of a book. It's like to each their own. But I consider it crazy paying like a few $100s more for a 9.8 and not getting a 9.6, which is basically the same book. It's like, and VGC has just fantasy grades anyway.
And especially when you're not going to read it.
The next day it would have a different grade. There's no consistency.
Yeah, so and you're not going to read it. It's for display.
Yeah. That's why I use top loader.
Right. So I had that. And then all of a sudden I'm like, uh-oh, this is getting serious. I'm going to start doing this. But I still knew there was some expensive issues to go. And, then I started getting some Conan books in AOKs. And true, comic can be too. That's very true, Shop. I mean, that 6.0 presents like an 8.5.
I don't like this grading system. I'm just very fine, we're very fine, very good, etc. And
Station.
Yeah, like CGC goes way too much into like certain numbers without having a guarantee that this is the grade. So you can pay for a book, and then if you want to rehost it, they tell you, oh, it's not that great anymore, and you wasted a lot of money.
And that's true, Dank. The beautiful thing about me collecting is I don't resell. I don't buy books to resell. I buy books to put in my collection. So like that 6.0 Conan, I am ecstatically happy with it. I'll never get rid of it. Even if I got one that was in a higher grade, that was the first Conan 1 I ever had. It's never going to leave the house.
Yeah.
When you're buying for your personal collection, I mean, 9.8s are nice when you get them, but I only expect them on modern books. I'm not chasing a 9.8 on an older book. I'm chasing a good, presentable copy, and that's good for me. I am not a flipper, and I am not a reseller. I mostly buy for my personal collection. That's why I don't do mystery boxes. I don't keep inventory like that. If I have it and it's in my house, it's something I'm keeping. Has his own loveliness to them because, yep.
Yeah, I absolutely love used comics. And for me, it's the same. I have no problem to spend like big bucks on a book, because if I want to have it in my collection, I want to have it anyway. And if I have that amount of money, then it's completely fine for me. And if all of my books that are my personal collection would be worthless tomorrow, I wouldn't care because I just want to have them for me.
Right, and that's exactly. I think that's why one of the reasons you and I get along so well. We collect for the love of books.
Yeah, just the flipping. I've sometimes I buy sometimes books that are just by the flip on eBay. So basically, my Savage Tales #1, I bought with the money for books that I spent €100 on.
Ooh, signed by Peter Cullen or Frank Welker. That's pretty good. You're holding out on me, E-Man.
Jambo has a really nice Red Sonja collection.
He does. I love Jambo's channel. It's awesome.
Yeah.
him and Bubs, and they got some great old comics.
Yeah.
And Bill too, Comic Mag Musings.
Oh yeah, he's also has a fantastic channel. And he also is getting those Savage Sword of Conans like for 50 cents.
And then so my next big acquisitions, right? Because when you're collecting Conan the Barbarian, it's about those big keys too. So, and Thorsten, exactly, Sean. 100% agree. So Thorsten and I have another character in common that we love, and that's Red Sonja. So of course you have to get the keys, which is 23 and 24.
Luckily, there are no big Red Sonja books like price-wise.
Right. So these came into the shop raw, and again 6.0s on both of them. Beautiful mid-grade copies that present at 8.0 or higher. So perfect. I had my first Red Sonja out of the way. Now I had to get her first cover. And Thorsten will tell you, just like I will, this is one of the best covers in all of comic history.
I love this cover, and I'm trying to get every version of it.
And there's so much going on this cover. Action, my favorite armor of Red Sonja's is on this cover.
Just don't show it because YouTube doesn't like it.
Yeah, it's just so beautiful. Great armor, great issue, fantastic story. And then all of a sudden I had two of my big keys out of the way. So, and I had them slabbed because I wasn't going to keep them raw. I had them in like several different reprints because even though I had stopped collecting regular comics, I had a lot of trades. I had bought trades off Amazon and I was reading stories that way. And I always loved the Conan stories. So I had the Chronicles of Conan. I had all the Chronicles of King Conan when I bought the floppies. I already had read all the stories.
I'm totally biting myself in the because I sold some of the Dark Horse books when I got the Omnibee.
Right. And the omnibuses are beautiful. But so then I had, that's two big keys out of the way. And then I started focusing. The hard part to collect on Conan the Barbarian, and Thorsten can probably confirm this too, is the last 15 issues and the first 15 issues.
Which actually fun is like in Europe, it's way easier to get the first issues than the last.
Well, the next big one I bought, and it's not like it's not a key or anything. Oh yeah, you're gonna see it. But my comic store had an auction. One of the things up was a PGX Conan the Barbarian. Nobody was bidding on it because it was PGX. So I stole this book. It was a 5.0 PGX. I stole it for I think $20. Issue number 4. I cracked it, had it pressed. I got it bumped to grade, got it CGC graded because I wasn't leaving a book this beautiful in a flimsy ass PGX case.
And also Tower of the Elephant, one of the iconic Conan stories.
Well, that's one of my favorite stories, and it shouldn't work because it deals with Conan and aliens, and it works beautifully. It's fantastic.
I always love the cosmic horror aspect that. Like I guess we said before, like Robert E. Howard, Clark Smith, Robert E. Howard, they wrote letters to each other, so they have a lot of influences throughout their whole works.
Right, and even in a lot of the Robert E. Howard stories, of course, I'm going to blank on the character's name now because I'm live with you. But you had the one guy that goes back in time, and he's living the memories of his ancestors. Fable Station. Go through the chat. I got all these great supporters here. So that was another slab out of the way, like I said, and I got a raw copy of it too. And all of a sudden, I'm getting a slab collection of Conan. So it's getting exciting. I'm getting the run put together. And it just kept rolling from there. Next thing you know, I'm getting some that are coming in from collections he's buying. I'm getting some from eBay. And I'm just having a blast putting all these old books back together. And reading them in collections, reading them collected formats, fun. but there's nothing like reading the actual floppy of it. You got the smell of the newsprint, you got the original coloring on it, and there's something to be said for being able to read it in its original format. I know. Would you agree there, Thorsten?
I totally agree that. That's also why on my Instagram, like if you look in my Instagram reels, and I'm with Instagram reels, I'm doing basically just like a video of some panels with some metal music in the background, and this just works when you read the original. It's the paper quality is fantastic, and I love to read like a collected version, but the big sin for me is when they change the original coloring, and the digital coloring does not always work on Bronze Age books. Like when you read the trades of the original Marvel Red Sonja stories by Dynamite, there's so much lost with the digital coloring that it doesn't fit to Frank Thorne's pencils.
Right. Digital coloring works in a different kind of art medium than it did.
Yeah.
It doesn't really apply to the old style very much. So then you got another issue that's hard to get, and that's issue 275. This one I chased for a while. One, I kept looking on eBay. Everybody wanted $70 for it. I'm like, it's not worth $70.
I've got it for cover price.
What's that?
Stay Puft. Sean found the last Conan in a back issue bin for cover price.
Well, I hate to one up you, Sean, but I got mine for 50 cents.
I bought mine for 50 euros, which are like $60.
Well, and again, this is where being friends with the owner of the comic shop, I became good friends with him because when he moved to a bigger shop, I was a customer that stayed behind and helped him move. So I helped him move a whole weekend. We became really good friends, and I go there a couple days a week now and just help him out in the back. And I alphabetize, I sort stuff he doesn't have time to do. He's a busy guy. So he knew I needed this issue. He got it in. I go, all right, I need it. How much? 50 cents. You know that's a steal. He could have charged me 30
but
bucks
also
for this.
the comic book owner knows that 50 cents, like he's getting like a regular income. And this is what a lot of comic book shop owners forget. It's if you treat your customers, your regulars, nicely, you're getting those dollars in on a regular basis. If you make like one big sell by overcharging, you're getting one-time money, and then people usually be like, "Screw you."
Oh, exactly. And this is what this guy does. He builds good relationships. And that's a great price too, Sean. $3. I would buy that book over and over all day for $3. It's, you buy it all day over and over for $10. Hey, Remy, missed a little bit, sir. So we already showed Conan the Barbarian 1, which is I got early in the journey to redoing this. Issues 23 and 24 with Red's first appearance of Red Sonja. And also we showed issue 4. And we just showed issue 275. So we're off and running with Conan and the Slabs. And then it comes to, all right, so I got 275. I finished the last 15. So that was a big journey done. And then I had to get the holes I was missing in the first 15. I was actually the first 20. And some of those aren't hard. I got some of them off eBay for $6-7 each. Not a big deal. But then I got down to like $6, and I was really excited because all of a sudden this is something I can accomplish. And hey guys, and then of course I don't know if you guys know the channel. If you guys don't, you should go sub him up. Super nice guy. His name it's Cruisin' Relics, and Eric over there, fantastic person. And this showed up in an A-OK from him. Issue 11, which was what I needed. He had it in his garage, and he gifted it to me.
This Rogues in the House adaptation is so
phenomenal.
I was very lucky to find this one in a German comic book store. It was sort of a mid-grade, and I got it for a very good price.
And this has a nice little Easter egg in it too. When's the last time you read this?
Last year.
All right, I don't know if you caught it, but at the same time that Roy Thomas was writing this, he was also writing some Avengers, right? And when you read the Robert E. Howard story, there's a servant that goes to the guy's house to let him know that Conan wasn't broke out of the jail because the guard was killed. But Conan, unbeknownst to them, Conan had already got out. That servant is nameless in the story, but in the book, his name is Sivraj. Sivraj is Jarvis spelled backwards. So Thomas was having a little bit of fun because I read it, I'm like, huh. And then I read it backwards. I'm like, oh, that sneaky little devil. So Jarvis from the Avengers, who becomes, of course, Vision. So I thought that was a neat little add-on that he had put in this issue. I caught it right away. Well, not right away. I mean, I've read this a couple times in my life. I caught it this year, I should say.
Which is fun. I have a lot of the Avengers books, but I've never read them. But I only have them. I have the UK ones, because in the UK they released every sort of Conan and the Avengers in the same book.
And those are beautiful.
Oh, the covers are so crazy. It's some of them I got here. I think the most of them are.
Some of the most fun too about those versions, like you have over there, is they don't get the original coloring palette like they do in the States. So sometimes they color things differently.
Yeah, that's the Spanish Conan #1. Like, this is a book I want to have in every form. I have the Italian one. I also sent you an Italian one. I have the German one. I have all the UK ones. And
this is the Italian one he sent me.
Italian one. The German one I also have. Yeah, it's just a beautiful Berins's cover.
And then they even had this cool reprint with a different coloring scheme on the
reprint.
I
also have that one, yeah, from the classic.
And I'll take it any way I can get that book. It doesn't matter. But for those of you who are Conan fans that don't know, Chamber of Darkness 4 is a book you guys should own. This is the first Conan prototype in it. He's not called Conan in it, but there's a short story in the back where they're doing the feeling out process that Barry Windsor Smith drew. I'm sure you have this in your collection too, Thorsten.
Not yet. I still have to get it, but since it's only the Conan prototype, it's not very high on my hunt list so far.
It reads just like a Conan story, though, and it's drawn exactly the same. They just hadn't named it because they didn't.
The same armor and everything, but the character became a different one that Marvel still uses sometimes.
Well, and they didn't have the property yet because they were still chasing Thongor. And
recoloring from the Spanish ones.
Oh, that's great!
Crazy, and the craziest.
I like the way they colored the bat in that one.
Yeah, and the craziest thing is when they have a different cover, which absolutely loves. Here is like the Frost Giant's daughter. It has a different color in the original Spanish run.
Nice.
And also one which, if I get the double of this, I have to send it to you. This is
ooh, that's beautiful.
That's issue number 24.
Wow, and what we were talking about earlier too, guys, you can see that they didn't have the color palette of how things are supposed to be colored. So Red Sonja is actually blondish on there.
In some books, like here, she is a redhead. But yeah, but in some Italian, in some Spanish ones, she's blonde. I think I have even one here. Which is good that I don't have currently the best order here, so I have just random Conan books from all around the world.
That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
But here, like in this newspaper reprint, she's blonde.
Right. I love a newspaper strip too. And what's funny is, that newspaper strip video I did with the book with the newspaper strips in it. The people who have the rights to that reached out to me on that video and said they're going to reprint them again.
Oh, nice! Because I also wrote Frederick, and I also showed him the link to your video and said, "Oh, by the way, we need them."
Oh, nice. And guys, he's talking about Frederick Momberg, the guy who is in charge of the Conan properties.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy.
So we'll just we'll do a quick recap, and then we're going to get into the final 5 books here. So far, all right, that was my first Conan slab, was Conan 16. I bought it raw, went in for $7.5. Then next, the wife had me go get Conan. I should have just left him out of the plastic. My wife let me, she didn't let me. She told me to go buy this because I always wanted it. And I'm funny because I'm the type of guy that'll keep not buying myself something. And then these last 5 books, part of the reason I have them is we're sitting down at the kitchen table, and my wife asked how many books I needed left. And at that time, I needed 1. And you know what issue it is. And it's one of the pricier ones because of the first appearance of the guy. And she goes,
actually, it's not the first appearance of Elric.
In comics? It's not. Oh, I thought it was. Just in Conan.
No, it's the first American, but he appeared before that in the French comic.
Gotcha. So my wife's like, how much is it? I'm like, it's going to be $80 to $100 for the kind of copy I want. She goes, well, just buy it and finish your damn collection. I'm like, all right. Went online and bought it.
Yeah, the last book that you need is usually the one where you are like more liberal with your spending. It's like the last book. It's like, I want it now.
Right. And then again, this was a gift from Cruisin' Relics. So really awesome dude who reached out to me, asked what the last 6 issues I needed were, and he sent that to me. So just fantastic. So then I was down to the last 5, and this was the first one I got, Thorsten, on that list, was issue 15.
Yeah.
Again, a border cover.
The Death of Conan Garth one. I mean, he came back apparently.
And one of the best designed villains ever. Just a great villain. And what was it, in X-Men 190 he was in or something? He fought the X-Men too?
Yeah, on 92. Those are... I only have 3 X-Men book. I have the Dr. Doom cover with Storm and 2 issues with Conan Garth.
And then my comic shop got this one in. And he got it in. He was closed when he got the collection. He called me at home and said, come down to the shop. I'll meet you. I'm like, okay. So Chet called me, and I get there, and he had this.
Yeah.
And this is a pricey book. Low print run. Now, this is when it was almost canceled.
In Europe, I see this book so often. Like, I got it for 10 euros.
And this book sells for upwards of $100. I think I paid $30 for this copy. So I got it for a steal still.
No, that's a really good price.
Great book. And like I said, this was a low print run. This is when this title was almost canceled. And then, of course, it went on to run for 273 more issues. So it rebounded pretty well. Let's see, Fable. Pick up Conan. What do you think of the modern? I love the modern series. I think they've been doing a really good job. I thought Jason Aaron and Mahmoud Azric did a really good first 12-issue art. And Mahmoud Azrar is someone you guys need to watch. He's a fantastic artist. His style fits Hyboria so well. And Jim Zub, I think, is writing a great Conan that showcases all Conan's talents. His wildness, his smarts, his ability to think himself out of a situation, and his savagery and his chivalry. And he has all his Sumerian code of honor intact. And Jim Zub is not getting the credit he deserves for writing a good Conan, because everybody just wants to say the old stuff is the only stuff. And there's good writers in every time period. It's just matching them with the right stuff. I don't know. What do you think, Thorsten?
It's so fun when Marvel regained the Conan rights. I was initially not very amused because I really liked what Dark Horse was doing with everything, and I absolutely loved the whole Dark Horse run. So I was, of course, eager to see who was getting announced to be the creative team. And when they announced Mahmoud to be the writer, and not the writer, the artist, I remember tweeting, it's like, hey, at least it's a guy from Vienna, so I know where I can complain if I don't like it.
Right?
Since he only lives 3 hours away from me. And he was like, thank you. Then we kept talking and we became friends. He's also a big Conan fan. You know, when he grew up, I was in Turkey. Conan is big there, and he absolutely loved it. But he never read the original Howard stories, so I sent him a code for because I had still a code left for them as ebooks, and so he can dive more into the original Howard stories. And he's a fantastic guy. Sadly, now since the pandemic and the lockdowns in Austria, I'm not really able to travel now to Vienna, but we already talked as soon as the lockdown is lifted and the vaccination is going forward. We're gonna meet again in Vienna, and I will get you a signature by him.
That's, I'm not a big signature guy, but that's one of the ones I'm dying for. Him and Roy Thomas. Remy Q, I have been reading them. Thorsten likes them a lot more than I do. I've been disappointed so far with every adaptation. I thought they've missed the mark. Thorsten thought they were good. I just haven't liked them.
I especially like, I mean, you haven't gotten yet the Scarlet Citadel, fantastic. And the last one by Valerie that just came out is also fantastic. Since we're getting these a little bit early here, since they're French books and we're getting them in German translated by Splitter, we're already 10 books in out of 6 here. There are some fantastic, others a little bit. There's like the Rogues in the House was very weak. And totally missed the mark on the art, but I really liked Frost Giant's Daughter. I also liked Red Nails. I love, like I said, also the Red Scarlet Citadel, which will upcoming. And what's also fantastic is the Man Eaters in Sambulas. I think they renamed the title Shadows in Sambula because of.
I hated their Red Nails. I hated the way they changed different parts of the story. It didn't make any sense, especially when you had.
I totally think that the Aztec aesthetics totally fitted. I love the art of it. And some parts, if you can get a little bit liberal with adaptations, I give them that. And as long as it fits the Hyborian age, which I thought it did, I'm happy.
And Fable Savage Avengers is a great title. I'm glad that the King in Black tie-in's over because now they can get back to the Cool and Gas story full. Marvel and DC and all these companies, when they do these major crossovers, they got to stop polluting our regular titles.
Yeah, please.
And pulling from their storylines. Savage Avengers has done a great job of making Conan work in the modern age. Because one thing that's always true about the Conan character is he adapts to whatever situation he's in. And the way they had him adapt to being in a modern era has been fantastic. He's still Conan at his core. He's still savage. He's still smart. He still finds a way to survive. And he still finds his way to ale and women. And I misspoke on this one. I grabbed the wrong books. This one I traded for. I traded a $30 book for this from my buddy Rafi. So that was a great trade. And then this is the one that my comic shop had called me down for, issue 8. I had a beat-up copy. He got a better copy in. And I went down and got this from him. This is what he called me at home for. And I was really searching for another issue 8. Just another fantastic cover. And then in that trade with number 3, I also got 2 copies of number 6.
Oh yeah.
Now, you want to hold up your version with a different color, and they can kind of do a comparison. That way, they can kind of see how they're different.
Yep. I mean, I think also there's several versions of this book. The British one is also different. But here's the Spanish one, because the British one I have in my bedroom in the bin.
So you can see how they do a different coloring palette in different areas of the world. And the cool thing about this issue is, wasn't this the first issue? It wasn't adapted from a Robert E. Howard Conan story directly. This was so the first 5 had, and just really cool. Again, just fantastic. So then that left me. Finally, we're down to the final issue I needed to complete my Conan run. And it was asked about in the chat earlier. And that was, of course, issue 14. So this is The Coming of Elric, another great border cover. And I've already, over and over again, I'll tell you how much I love the border covers. So in that trade, I also got this copy of
beautiful
number 14. And I knew this was a great reader copy.
And it's the first crossover, basically, you have with Conan. Right? If you don't count, like in the issue number 1, like the Vision of Khal as a crossover. Right.
And just awesome stuff. And then I bought, this is the one that my wife told me, go ahead and buy it. And I bought a good cut. I might get this one graded, or I might just leave it raw.
And it's the first Conan Gav. Like
it is.
It's very underrated character that has his. I would even say that for me, Conan Gav, along with Doctor Doom, are the 2 most menacing Marvel villains that are Earth-based.
Right, and just in any period. And you saw that in the first issue of Conan, that they weren't afraid. In the very first issue of Conan the Barbarian, he sees into the future. There's a whole section there. So they always kind of toyed with that concept. And Conan has one of the most iconic logos, I think, in comics history as well. Yeah. Instantly recognizable. Hey, Sleeping Collectibles, thank you for stopping in. But so that was the final issue I needed. I got that, and my run is complete, and it was just such a good feeling. And I was, and then so the question
is one of the best feelings. I still have to complete the Conan run. I have completed some like smaller runs, but even then, when something is complete, I know a lot of people are like, something is complete, move on to the next thing. For me, it's like I have my goals, and once they're completed, I'm like, I'm done.
Well, and I have other goals that I'm trying to complete, Conan ones. So the next for me in my journey, though, is I want to get a complete run of Savage Sword of Conan, and I got a good start on that. I have issue 1 out at CGC right now, getting graded. And
I just played with issue number 1 today.
Right, and I know that the Conan Saga is just a reprint series, but I still want to. I think it ran for like 97 issues, and I got about 40 of those right now. So I got 3 copies of number 1, and just some, and again, beautiful covers on those. You got great artists like Jusko,
like the number
Norum.
I have the German version.
Barry Windsor Smith, John Buscema, just great artists. Beautiful.
Right. That's the German version.
I've never seen that. That's incredible.
I may have to get you one.
Yeah, that is a beauty. But then so that was my journey, guys. The collection's complete. I'm moving on to Savage Sword and Saga of Conan and trying to collect those.
Novels. There are like some Marvel graphic novels, some of them actually quite pricey.
There are. Luckily, I got a couple of them for $10, and I knew they were selling for like $60 and $70. But there was some old guy here with a comic shop, and he only did things by the comic book price guide, and it was still listed as $10, so that's what I got him for. And there was other things he wanted that were way overpriced. Oh, I need $8 for that. I'm like, well, it's worth $1. I'm not paying you $8, but I'll buy these 2 for $10, and went out the store with them.
I know, for me it's like also like especially in Europe, since we have so many countries, so many languages. Books that I love, I try to hunt down like from every country, and sometimes you get a fantastic deal. Usually those are not so pricey, but it's tough to find them sometimes.
Yes. So what are you currently hunting, Thorsten?
I'm still, of course, like mostly I have all the big money books from Conan. So currently it's just hunting filler issues, and I'm so thankful to all of my friends on YouTube, like Southern Comic Geek, Jason, Stay Puff, 1983, Sean, Steve Whiting, also you, Gary. You really helped me a lot when you sent me like a bulk of filler issues, because here in Europe it's way tougher to find the dollar books than the actual grails, because of course a lot of people are just buying the key issues here, so
Right.
it's easier to find those and the earlier issues, but the later ones,
It can
those
be
are,
tough here though too to find filler issues because those are the issues that everybody treated like crap.
yeah,
So a lot of time they were destroyed or they're in terrible shape. So sometimes you get a good filler issue and you could always find some stuff in like the cheap bins. Doesn't mean you always want it. Some of those are barely together. But so to find good copies of some filler issues is really difficult.
yeah. Then I'm very lucky that I got like my whole run of the UK comics. First, they did the first, I think 15 as a single book, like, and then they combined it with the Avengers. So I'm very lucky to got the whole run in a bulk from a UK seller.
Oh, and part of the celebration of me completing this run is I commissioned from Rad Hulk Dad on Instagram this killer slab display.
Kram.
It says Comics by Crom, which is what I wanted to say. He's got the medallion necklace on there. He's got the skulls. We got the sword. You got the helmet with the fur. The medallion here acts as a counterweight to the sword, holding it in place. So the whole idea with this, and you'll see it in my videos, is it just displays a Conan slab very savagely and very greatly. And also, Thorsten, as you saw recently too, is I picked up the Super 7 Barry Windsor Smith Conan figure, which is just a fantastic figure.
I'm so disappointed with the movie figures. I have them. I didn't even unpack them.
No,
But
the sculpts are off a little bit.
Yeah, the swords are too long. Like the Atlantean sword is built for a bigger figure, and you can't even pose the pit fighter Conan in the poses he did in the movie. Like you can't cross his arms, and for that price, I would not complain if this would be $20 figures, because they have the quality of $20 figures.
And I paid 50 for each of those, and I paid 80 for the Barry Windsor Smith one.
That's daylight robbery. So I did not order the new ones because I'm not happy with the scaling. Also, Sven-Ulrich Thorsten, who played Thor Grim, he doesn't even look like the character. He looks more like Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden.
And I didn't like the shine they put on his skin, like he was oiled up. It didn't look right.
Only
Hulk made it.
Yeah, Tools of Doom, they nailed the Tools of Doom figure.
They did.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about that figure is I think that's the only time you've ever seen James Earl Jones likeness on a figure.
Exactly.
So that could be quite the collectible at some point.
I'm pretty sure of it. So I'm keeping mine. I may unpack the Tools of Doom figure once just to have him portrayed like with the lobby cards from the 1982 movie with Tools of Doom on it, and because it's a very different interpretation of the character, which is originally like a villain, but it's like truly like a version that stands on its own since the first movie.
And what did you get the Barry Windsor Smith Super 7?
Yes, I pre-ordered that.
Was a must-have.
I waited 2 bloody years.
Right. And I got the bloody weapon pack with it too.
Yeah, they forgot to send me that one.
Oh.
So I got no blood-stained weapons with it. I only got the original weapons with it.
Yeah, it's just 2 little weapons, but it was cool. It added something to it.
It's like if you pre-order, you get always screwed.
Right?
Yeah.
And I bought mine off eBay for 80.
Pre-ordering is.
That's where my wife's great. You're like, oh, you want, but that's how my wife and I have always been. We both work really hard, and if one of us wants something, we just go buy it. We don't control each other. We don't tell each other what we can buy and not buy. We both work hard. We both provide for our kid. We both support the house. So if one of us wants something, we just get it. As long as the bills are paid and we're eating, we're good.
I just got this Friday. I had a longer time on my view list, on my want list, and I had no idea how huge it is. I thought it is a regular comic size.
Nice.
But that's Varangian Smith Storytellers from Dark Horse Comics.
Ooh, I might have to look that up. Look at the eyebrows on him.
Yeah. Yeah, Varangian Smith is just a master, and he did, I think there's 10 issues of those, but I had no idea that they are basically treasury sized.
Now, did you have anything else you wanted to share or talk about before we sign off today, Thorsten?
Oh, wow, way too much. I'm going to do some whole videos next week if YouTube won't shut me down for mistaking chainmail, not even a bikini, but the Varangian Smith chainmail for nudity. So next week I'm gonna do like a video about the Spanish Conan books. Then I got a huge bunch of Dynamite Red Sonjas from the original run, which I'm now very close to complete. A friend of mine in Texas sent me his Red Sonja collection because he said he's not collecting it anymore. So nice. I think I'm only needing I only need 10 to 15 more Red Sonja books of the original Dynamite run.
The 80 issue run, right?
Yeah, the 80 issue run, yeah.
All right, as far as my channel, so I got 2 interviews coming up this week. On Tuesday, I'm going to be interviewing Capsun Comics, a great Golden Age collector, really cool guy, Kenny. That'll be Tuesday night. And on Thursday night, I'm going to be interviewing Eric Chavez from Yeah Man I Got Comics on Instagram. We'll be doing a sit down with him and talking about him. I'll have my haul video on Wednesday. We'll have another Savage Saturday. Every Saturday, I review a Savage book, whether it's Red Sonja, Conan, or another barbaric title. But I love doing those. I got a small group of people that watch them, so I keep doing them, and I love doing them, and it gives me a reason to go back and reread these awesome stories that I love.
It's just fantastic rereading those issues.
It is.
I think that in the later Conan run, like when you look from the original Conan run, 150 upwards, and in the later Savage Sword of Conan issues that nobody talks about, you are really finding treasures in there.
Right.
And some of those books, except of course for the full Dark Horse reprint, have never been like reprinted in a form that is really like what's going out there, only like in a very small print run. So these books are so underrated because, of course, everybody talks about Varangian Smith Conan and Conan, like rightfully so because they are fantastic. But a lot of people underestimate some of the later ones, especially the stuff written by Christopher Priest under his pen name Owsley. Like I just a few weeks ago, Jason sent me the Conan 200, and I read it, and it's a fantastic Tulsa Doom story. And it's get these books, read them. It's also collecting comics. Of course, we all love the covers. We love to have the comics in our possession. But if you actually have like read all the books in that run, you have a way deeper connection to it.
And there was a great Tulsa Doom 4-issue miniseries, which I have here too.
Dynamited one?
Yeah.
Yeah. where it's like it's more based from the movie than the actual. Yeah, there's also the crossover with Red Sonja.
Yeah, I don't have that one yet.
You have to get the Paul Renault cover. It's a red cover. It's Conan. It's a Red Sonja versus Tools of Doom. And on his cover, you have the Tools of Doom helmet from the 1982 movie.
Ooh.
And it's gorgeous. And Paul Renault is one of the best Red Sonja artists that people should talk more about. It's really like a good miniseries.
Right, and just I don't know. There's so much good guys. You can read Savagely every week and not run out of good material.
Yeah, that's also the thing, if comics would go downhill and with everything that's around, like with the whole like basic the print run of comics are criminally low these days. I could have fulfilled life having all the back issues.
Right, and read them over and over, and there's so much that you could. I mean, by the time you go back, it's fresh, and it's weird because I go back and read some of these, and you see that your memories kind of changed it on you. You remember it different, and then you read it, and it refreshes you. Like I did a review, there was a 5-arc story, but I only remember it being like 2 or 3 books, but it was 5 books. But your memory just puts it all together, especially when the writing's good and it flows right. It doesn't feel like it's that many issues, right?
Exactly.
It's good.
There's so much to discover. Like, we both know a lot about the Hyborian Age, but there are still books we're finding out about where like Conan has like some panels in it. Or like we said, like the X-Men Kulan Garth one. There's also from the early 2000s from Kurt Busiek, the Avengers run, where Kulan Garth is also the villain. You have She-Hulk in a chainmail bikini in that issue.
And there's that Fantastic Four issue I showed you where Conan was in like 3 panels where he popped in from the past for a couple minutes.
And especially if you love Conan, you really have to get everything, or Conan Carl, like everything Serpent Crown, like the stories are basically connected. Just skip the recent battle for the Serpent Crown because that one is garbage.
And Marvel team up, what is it? Annual 5 that has the first Serpent Crown.
Yeah. Now the first Serpent Crown in the original form is Name of the Submariner, the Thomas Run. I think issue 8 or 9.
Oh,
it's
I gotta search that one down.
Orange cover. I only have the reprint of that one from I think.
You have to send me a message on that on Instagram so I can look for it.
It's like in the original form. Before that, it was a different artifact, but it definitely debuted in the Name of the Submariner.
Nice. So perfect. So Thorsten, I want to thank you very much for coming on the show today, buddy. I really appreciate you joining me. There's no one else I want to talk Conan with but you when I'm going to have a big Conan show. I really appreciate you making time in your schedule.
Anytime.
And that's all for today. I want to thank everyone in the chat that has come out to support the channel today. I really appreciate each and every one of you. It was great talking about this. It was awesome finishing this run. Something I never thought I'd do in my entire life, and it's complete.
Right. And it's crazy. It's when I started collecting comics, basically I read everything in trade. And the Liam Sharp cover of Wonder Woman was Wonder Woman Conan from the crossover, because he looked so much like Arnold. Like, I was hunting for that variant cover, and then I found a German comic book store where I was able to make a pull list and a subscription. So I started the books, and then I was, of course, I'm getting only the modern books. I don't want to open the wormhole and going to the back. Boy,
and I have the hardcover of the Conan Wonder Woman series, and I have the floppies.
It's the best Gail Simone story.
It is, and I only read the hardcover one because I don't want to damage the floppies at all. And I get so anyway, thank you guys. Thorsten and I could actually talk Conan all day. We're not going to do that to you.
maybe not a time.
Right. Thank you everyone for coming out. If you're on later, guys, at 3:30 Eastern time, On with my best friend Michael Cologne, and we're talking episode 5 of the Falcon and Winter Soldier. So it's going to be my second live today. If you stop by and check that one out too, thank you. I really do appreciate all the support. This community is great. I wouldn't have been able to complete this collection without the community either. Not just the YouTube community, but also my local community here, and plus with how awesome my wife is. So
comics are awesome.
And I did this in 2 years, dude. That's amazing to me that I put this together in under 2 years time. But that's it for today, guys. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out. Again, thank you, Thorsten. I'm going to say keep it casual. And Thorsten, I'll leave the sign off to you.
Okay, first of all, congratulations on your Herculean task. I'm looking forward when it's a time that I can announce that it's complete. I'm so happy for you, and looking forward to more of your Savage videos. And I hope we can also do more live streams together and just talk about everything, Hyborian Age, Barbarian, Sword and Sorcery. And also thanks to everybody in the live chat for being here. It's been a blast. And so only thing I have to say is have a savage day.
Nothing better than that. Take care, all.